The moment Brook Lynn Quartermaine looked down at the tiny newborn fighting for her life, she felt something shift deep inside her heart. It wasn't just sympathy. It wasn't just sadness. It felt like destiny. But in Port Charles, destiny almost never comes without a painful twist. And this time, the twist could destroy everything Brook Lynn and Harrison Chase have been dreaming about. Because the baby they may soon call their daughter might not be theirs to keep. For months now, Brook Lynn and Chase have been fighting a quiet battle that most people in Port Charles never even realized existed. They wanted a family. Not power. Not fame. Not Quartermaine drama. Just a child to love. But fate had other plans. The first blow came when Chase learned the heartbreaking truth that he might never be able to father a child. For a man who has always dreamed of becoming a dad, the news was devastating. Chase tried to stay strong. He tried to act like it didn't matter. But Brook Lynn could see the pain in his eyes. She saw the way he looked at other families in the park. The way his voice softened whenever he talked about children. That dream still lived inside him. And Brook Lynn loved him too much to let that dream die. So they made a decision that changed everything. They would adopt. It seemed like the perfect solution. They would give a child a loving home and build the family they both longed for. But just when their adoption plans were starting to move forward, another bombshell exploded. A secret from Brook Lynn's past came crashing back into her life. The truth about Gio Palmieri. For years no one knew the real story. But the shocking revelation finally came out. Gio wasn't just some young man connected to the family. He was Brook Lynn's son. A child she had given up for adoption when she was just a scared teenager. And the father, Dante Falconry. The truth rocked everyone. But no one felt the shock more than Gio himself. Imagine discovering that the people you thought were strangers are actually your parents. Imagine learning your entire life story had been hidden from you. Gio struggled to process the truth. And Brook Lynn was terrified that pushing forward with a new adoption would only make things worse. So she made a difficult decision. She paused their adoption plans. Not because she didn't want a baby, but because she needed time to repair the fragile bond forming between her and Gio. Slowly, carefully, mother and son began to reconnect. The journey wasn't easy. There were awkward moments, painful conversations, and years of lost time hanging between them. But eventually, something beautiful started to grow. A real connection. A real relationship. And when Brook Lynn finally felt that things had settled, she turned to Chase with a smile he had been waiting months to see. She gave him the green light. They could start the adoption process again. For Chase, it felt like the sun finally breaking through months of clouds. He was going to be a dad. But just days after that hopeful moment, something happened that no one could have predicted. It started as a quiet evening. Brook Lynn and Chase were taking a romantic walk through the park. Nothing dramatic. Just two people enjoying a peaceful moment together. Talking about the future. Talking about their dreams. Talking about the family they hoped to build. And then, they saw her. A pregnant woman lying unconscious near a park bench. At first, Brook Lynn thought maybe the woman had simply fainted. But as they rushed closer, it became clear something was very wrong. The woman was pale, barely breathing, and clearly in terrible distress. Brook Lynn immediately dropped to her knees beside her. "Hey, can you hear me?" Slowly the woman opened her eyes. Her voice was weak and trembling. Her name was Delilah. And she was about to go into labor. Brook Lynn and Chase quickly realized the situation was urgent. They begged Delilah to go to the hospital. At first she refused. She seemed frightened, almost desperate to avoid medical help. But Chase and Brook Lynn insisted. There was no time to waste. Eventually Delilah agreed. And they rushed her to General Hospital. What happened next would change everything. Doctors quickly realized the situation was critical. Delilah was suffering from severe internal bleeding. The baby needed to be delivered immediately. An emergency C-section was called. Inside the hospital room, Brook Lynn held Delilah's hand. The two women had only known each other for a short time, but something powerful had formed between them. A connection built on fear, hope, and the fragile life about to enter the world. Brook Lynn leaned close and whispered softly, "Everything is going to be okay." But sometimes, promises in Port Charles are impossible to keep. The surgery began. Doctors worked quickly. The baby was delivered. A tiny girl. But she wasn't breathing. For a moment, the entire room froze. Then the medical team rushed into action. Seconds passed that felt like hours. And finally, a cry filled the rooms. Baby Jane was alive. But the celebration was short-lived. Because while the newborn fought bravely for life, her mother was fading. The internal bleeding was too severe. Doctors did everything they could. But there was nothing more they could do. Delilah died, leaving behind a newborn daughter with no family in sight. And standing there in the hospital hallway, Brook Lynn felt her heart break all over again. Because somehow, in just a few hours, that baby had already become important to her. But the real question was only beginning to take shape. Who was baby Jane's family? And why was Delilah alone in that park moments away from giving birth? Because in Port Charles, nothing ever happens by accident. And baby Jane's story might be hiding secrets that could change everything. But what Chase and Brook Lynn didn't realize yet was that the biggest twist was still coming. And it might destroy the family they haven't even built yet. At General Hospital, the tiny newborn rested quietly in the nursery. Baby Jane had survived the chaos of her arrival. But her future was completely uncertain. No mother, no father, no relatives coming forward. Just questions. And two people who suddenly felt responsible for her. Brook Lynn couldn't stop thinking about the moment she held Delilah's hand. That promise she made. Everything will be okay. Even though Delilah was gone, the promise still mattered. Chase felt it too. When he looked at baby Jane through the nursery window, something stirred deep inside him. Hope. For a man who thought fatherhood might never happen, this moment felt almost unreal. But they knew one thing. The baby deserved answers. So they made a vow. They would find baby Jane's family. No matter how long it took. Detective Nathan West helped begin the search. The first step seemed simple. Look through Delilah's purse. Find an ID. A phone number. Anything. But when Nathan opened the bag, there was almost nothing inside. No identifications. No address. No emergency contact. It was as if Delilah had appeared in Port Charles out of nowhere. Which only made the mystery deeper. Who was she? Why had she been alone? And where was the father of her child? Days passed. Then weeks. Still no one came forward. Baby Jane remained at the hospital, waiting for someone to claim her. But every day that passed made something else happen. Brook Lynn and Chase visited her. Again. And again. And again. Each visit lasted a little longer. Each moment felt a little more personal. Soon the nurses began to smile knowingly whenever they saw the couple arrive. Because the truth was becoming obvious. They were already falling in love with the baby. Chase would hold Jane gently, amazed by how small she was. Brook Lynn would watch quietly, imagining what life might look like if this little girl became part of their family. Late one evening, Chase finally said what had been building in his heart. What if she's meant to be ours? Brook Lynn didn't answer right away. Because the idea was both beautiful and terrifying. Adoption had already been such a complicated journey for them. And this situation was even more uncertain. What if Jane's family showed up later? What if someone claimed her after they had already bonded? The thought was almost unbearable. But at the same time, how could they walk away? This baby needed parents, needed love, needed a home. And Brook Lynn felt something else too. A strange sense of fate. As if somehow their path and baby Jane's path had collided for a reason. Eventually, the conversations turned serious. They spoke with Alexis Davis. They learned about the legal process. They began preparing for the possibility of adoption. And slowly, the dream they once feared impossible started to feel real again. The Quartermaine mansion could soon have a new little resident. A baby girl's. A daughter. But this is Port Charles. And happiness never comes without consequences. Because somewhere out there, someone is missing that child. Someone connected to baby Jane's blood. And sooner or later, the truth always surfaces. Months could pass. Maybe even a year. Brook Lynn and Chase might raise Jane, celebrate her first steps, watch her grow. But one day, a knock could come at the doors. A man's, or a family member's. Someone with proof. Someone with the right to claim the child. And if that happens, Brook Lynn and Chase could lose everything. Their dream. Their daughter. Their future. Even more mysterious. There are hints that baby Jane's story might connect directly to someone already living in Port Charles. Could Delilah have been related to someone in town? Was she hiding from someone? And who is the father? Some fans believe the answer might shock everyone. Because if baby Jane's father turns out to be someone already connected to the canvas, this adoption story could explode into one of the most emotional battles Port Charles has ever seen. For now, Brook Lynn and Chase are holding on to hope. They're choosing love. They're choosing faith. But deep down, a storm may already be forming. A storm that could rip baby Jane away from them just when they finally feel like a family. And when that moment comes, the heartbreak could be unbearable. So now the question shifts to you. If Brook Lynn and Chase adopt baby Jane, and months later her biological father suddenly appears, should he have the right to take her back? Or should the child stay with the parents who raised and loved her? Let me know what you think in the comments. And if you enjoy deep dives into general hospital stories like this one, don't forget to subscribe for daily GH updates, spoilers and theories you won't want to miss. Because in Port Charles, the next shocking twist is always just around the corner.